the National Football League will be kicking off its historic 100th season tonight as part of the season finale of Strictly Sports. We are going to preview the upcoming 100th NFL season, who we think will win each division, and so much more. Hello, friends, and welcome to the season finale of Strictly Sports here on StreamYard.com, streaming on YouTube.com as well. I am your host, Anthony Florio, joined by good old MF Michael Fletcher. We are awaiting the presence of Michael Bullock. Not sure if he'll be with us or not. If he is, we'll catch him up on what he missed. If not, then we'll hopefully see him Monday night for Ridiculously Raw. Season finale of Strictly Sports. Unbelievable. The time has just flown by so quickly. And now we're going to be getting into our very busy season. I mean, we are going to be so busy this fall. You're going to be seeing us damn near every night. And as soon as we have the proper schedule and the proper dates all ready to go, we will definitely pass that on to you. But for right now, let's get into this season finale of Strictly Sports. I do have a couple of announcements that I will be sharing at the end of our show regarding a couple of special projects that we're working on outside of this. So without any further ado, let's start with the AFC East. After all, that is where the Vince Lombardi Trophy resides. So here we go. The New England Patriots last season made it 10 consecutive AFC East titles on their way to winning another Super Bowl. In 2019, they will attempt to finish first in the division for the 17th time in the 19 years of the Tom Brady, Bill Belichick era. New England, though, actually showed some vulnerability before getting things perfect in the playoffs, as its 11-5 record was its quote-unquote worst in 9 seasons. The NFL's reigning dynasty still won the East by 4 games. Will the competition get better enough to make the Patriots sweat? Let's start it off with with my team, the Buffalo Bills. The Bills have worked to improve the offensive line and skill positions around second-year quarterback Josh Allen. They also have playmakers on every level of the defense, with rookie first-round tackle Ed Oliver serving as the latest addition. The jury is still out on how Buffalo can complement those strengths with the running game and more competent, efficient passing from Allen. Even though Sean McDermott still has a rebuilding team, there's a lot of pressure on the coach to lead a rebound season after going from a wild card berth to 6-10. MF's Miami Dolphins. Rookie coach Brian Flores arrives with positive energy, and he will need all of it as he is tasked with a difficult resurrection job. The Dolphins have been depleted of much of their talent on both sides of the ball, especially on the offensive and defensive lines. Flores has 2 makeshift quarterback options in Ryan Fitzpatrick and Josh Rosen. Miami will need to get much worse than 7-9 before it can get better. The New England Patriots. The Patriots lost some key players led by tight end Rob Gronkowski, retirement, and defensive end Trey Flowers, free agency, but they also reinforced themselves at running back and wide receiver, and they remain strong in their defensive back 7. Starting from the top of the NFL world again, not picking the Patriots to repeat again with Brady and Belichick is a futile exercise. The champions should get over their weak division hurdle with comfort and remain on the short list of teams capable of winning the AFC. And as for the Jets, they now have new coach Adam Gase overseeing their offense, with Sam Darnold getting newfound support from Le'Veon Bell. Greg Williams takes over the defense, with Quinnen Williams and C.J. Mosley boosting his front 7. Former general manager Mike Maccagnan won't be there to see the fruits of his labor, but his player acquisition work has New York positioned for a big jump from 4-12 after significant upgrades in talent at key positions. So, with all that being said, I have the New England Patriots winning the AFC East, finishing with a 13-3 record. The New York Jets finished second with a record of 9-7. The Buffalo Bills at 5-11. And in third, I'm sorry, MF, your Miami Dolphins last with a record of 2-14. With 13 wins, the Patriots will jump higher in the standings to their usual standards, while the Bills and Dolphins will take a combined 6-victory hit. This leaves the door open for the Jets to contend for an AFC wildcard spot as they learn how to win more close games under Gase. With Brady around and still playing at a high level, finishing second is no slouch here. With Allen needing more development and the Dolphins likely needing to find their next quarterback answer in the 2020 NFL Draft, Sam Darnold makes the Jets the team in this division with the next best quarterback. So that's all I got to say about the AFC East. I know we're probably going to have some disagreements this evening, but, it is what it is. So, good old MF Michael Fletcher, come on in. The Phil Sims to my Jim Nance here. Our division, we called this division so many years before we finally branched out. So, it's the Patriots to lose, obviously.
Yeah. It is definitely the Patriots to lose, obviously. And I actually even agree with Miami possibly being in last place. As a Miami Dolphin fan, the writing's on the wall. This is Brian Flores' first year as a head coach, and there's a lot that needs to be done. I think 2 wins is actually harsh, Florio, even for you. I don't see that. I could see 5 wins. I think we could get at least 5 wins in this season, even though if you look at the schedule is absolutely rough. It's murderous, especially at the very beginning. It's not good for Miami. Baltimore, New England, the Chargers. I mean, right out of the gate, we got 4 monster games right out of the get-go. So it's going to be a rough year for the Dolphins. I know a lot of people don't have much expectations for the Miami, so I agree with that. Buffalo, I don't know. I really kind of feel like I think they could get better. So I think they're going to be a little more closer, even though Josh Allen really needs to turn something around. I don't know what that's going to look like. And the Jets. All right. I get it. Sam Darnold might be better. Getting Le'Veon Bell is a major upgrade for their running game, so they're going to have a lot of success there. But I know the head coach, which is Adam Gates. That guy is not going to be the answer for the Jets. I'm sorry. I don't believe they're going to make a run. They're not that good. I got New England first. I got Buffalo second. I got the Jets third. I got Miami in last. But I don't think you're going to see much in the way. I don't think the wild card's coming out of the AFC East. Obviously, that's what I'm going to say. So with that said, Anthony, let's just move on to the next division.
And we go in alphabetical order here. So let's move on to the AFC North. And MF, there's a certain team in the AFC North that has generated a whole lot of hype, a whole lot of buzz. Are you believing in that hype and buzz?
I'm believing in the hype and the buzz enough that they're going to win the division. Well, actually, no. You know what? I think they got a good shot at the division. They were very close to the wild card last year. A game kind of went a little wayward at the end. That could have put them in the playoffs, believe it or not. But this time around, I think that said team is going to make the postseason. Right now, all right, the way I feel it goes like this. Cincinnati is going to be 4. And I just don't believe that, with everything going on, AJ Green's already hurt. He's probably not playing the first game of the season. That means Andy Dalton's going to have a lot more pressure on. And I just don't believe they're going to do much. So I don't have them going anywhere. Cincy 4. 3, I got to go Pittsburgh. I don't know why. I know the Antonio Brown thing. I know the thing with Le'Veon Bell. Yes, you got James Conner. Yes, you got Juju Smith-Schuster. You got Ben Roethlisberger. But the defense might be a liability, and I'm not high on them. Cleveland's 2. Yes, I believe they're going to be improved. Yes, I believe they're going to be better. But I don't think they have enough to get over the hump to win the division. My team winning the division is the Baltimore Ravens. They won the division last year. I think they're going to repeat again with now Lamar Jackson is the guy. He's running it. He's a dual threat. They got a great defense. They also got a pretty good running game. And with John Harbaugh, a really good coach, I think Baltimore wins the division again. However, I do got the Cleveland Browns as one of my wild card teams. I think they're coming out of the North as one of the wild card representatives. So here it is. Baltimore wins the division. Cleveland is second. And the first wild card winner. Third I got is the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I got the Cincinnati Bengals in dead last. Anthony, it is yours.
Wow. Did I mention there'll be disagreements tonight? So, anywho, the Browns have not won their division since 1989. The AFC North was called the AFC Central then. The Oilers were in Houston and in the division, and the Baltimore Ravens did not exist. So, yeah, it's been a long time. There is no question Cleveland has been the hype team of this offseason. Can the likes of Baker Mayfield, Odell Beckham Jr., and Myles Garrett deliver on those lofty expectations in 2019, just 2 years removed from the Browns' 0-16 season? Baltimore won the AFC North with a 10-6 record last season. The Steelers, who let Le'Veon Bell leave and traded Antonio Brown, are in for an interesting season. And rookie coach Zach Taylor will start a new era in Cincinnati. The Baltimore Ravens, we know the defending division champs will continue to implement an offense that both maximizes Lamar Jackson's talent and allows for his improvement as a passer. Joe Flacco, Terrell Suggs, and C.J. Mosley are gone. Mark Ingram and Earl Thomas are among the key additions, and Jackson also has a new top target via the drafted Marquise Brown. If the Ravens win the division, we won't be surprised, but they have to do better than a 2-2 split this year against the Browns and the Steelers. The Cincinnati Bengals, Zach Taylor takes over after the Bengals' 16-year run under Marvin Lewis that produced several playoff appearances. It's a prove-it season for veteran quarterback Andy Dalton, and the Bengals have proven playmakers in Joe Mixon and, when he's healthy, A.J. Green. The offensive line, which already lost first-round pick Jonah Williams for the season, and Clint Boling to retirement, is a huge concern. The defense still features Geno Atkins on our strong line. Cincinnati did start 4-1 last season before the wheels fell off down the stretch. The Cleveland Browns, first-year coach Freddie Kitchens' relationship with Baker Mayfield was a huge factor in his landing the job, and the QB's growth will be a big factor in determining whether Cleveland can win the division. General Manager John Dorsey was aggressive again this offseason, and the trade to land Beckham could be an iconic moment in franchise history if the Browns win the AFC North this season. The defense revolves around Myles Garrett, but the line added even more depth with Olivier Vernon and Sheldon Richardson. The talent difference from that 0-16 team to this year's edition is incredible. And for the Pittsburgh Steelers, with the losses of Bell and Brown, or will the losses of Bell and Brown be addition by subtraction? That's the best case scenario for Coach Mike Tomlin and quarterback Ben Roethlisberger, who turned 37 in March. James Conner and Juju Smith-Schuster fill those roles now, and the defense will have to improve after finishing 16th in points allowed last season. TJ Watt and Cam Hayward combined for 21 sacks last season, and first-round pick Devin Bush fits into the defensive mentality of Blitzburg. The fact that, spoiler alert, the Browns are picked to win the division should motivate the Steelers, and it will rekindle a real rivalry between the franchises, rather. So, we'll find out right away whether the Browns are ready for the bright lights. Cleveland has 3 primetime games in the first 5 weeks of the season, including a home Sunday Night Football spot against the Los Angeles Rams in Week 3. Cleveland is a made-for-TV team with Mayfield and Beckham, but is it truly ready for an AFC North championship run in a playoff berth? The Steelers will have a lot to say about that in Weeks 11 and 13. Pittsburgh has won the division 4 times in this decade. Baltimore has won it 3 times, and Cincinnati has won 2. Those teams have learned how to play with expectations. There will be bumps, but the Browns, I think, will learn how to do that and take advantage of a favorable end-of-season schedule to win their first division title in 30 years. So here's the thing. When it comes to the Cincinnati Bengals, MF, you're absolutely right. I got them finishing dead last. I got them going 5-11 this year. They're going to be the Bungles again. Totally disagree on how you have 1-3. Baltimore Ravens, I got them finishing third. I got them going 8-8. Now keep in mind, these are preseason predictions here. 8-8 for the Ravens, finished third. I got the Pittsburgh Steelers finishing second at 10-6 and as a wild card team. And I have the Cleveland Browns winning the division and going 11-5, mainly because of that favorable end of season schedule. So we'll see what happens. If we're wrong, we're wrong. Hey, we can't be right all the time. So we're just going to leave it at that. So that's all I can say there. We move on now to the AFC South. And either the Houston Texans or the Indianapolis Colts have won the AFC South in 9 of the last 10 years. And heading into this year, the tough choice in the division is again between those two teams at the top. Houston won the division last year for the third time in 4 years, behind a healthy Deshaun Watson and a defense that still features J.J. Watt and Jadeveon Clowney. Indianapolis, however, beat the division champion in the wild card round of the playoffs with a healthy Andrew Luck and a dominant offensive line. Starting with the Houston Texans, Deshaun Watson passed for 4,165 yards and 26 touchdowns while locked in on DeAndre Hopkins, who had 1,572 yards and 11 TDs last season. And Watt and Clowney combined for 25 sacks. Houston drafted Tytus Howard and Max Shapering in the first 2 rounds of the draft to address their weakness on the O-line. The schedule is tough. Houston faces New Orleans, the LA Chargers, Kansas City, and Indianapolis on the road in the first 7 weeks of the season. But head coach Bill O'Brien will find a way to make it work. Indianapolis Colts, Frank Reich led the Colts to 10 wins in his first season as coach last year, and Andrew Luck passed for 4,593 yards and 39 touchdowns over his 16 starts. First-round pick Quentin Nelson made the Pro Bowl in his first season, and Eric Ebron continued a remarkable career turnaround. The Colts also ranked 10th in scoring defense. Indy signed Devin Funchess from Carolina and added Spencer Ware and Justin Houston from Kansas City. The Jacksonville Jaguars, Nick Foles, will get his chance to lead a young, talented team that bottomed out after reaching the AFC Championship game under Doug Marrone a couple years ago. The Jags reshuffled their roster in free agency and added first-round pass rusher Josh Allen with the number 7 pick in the NFL draft. The core, which includes Leonard Fournette and Pro Bowlers Jalen Ramsey and Calais Campbell, remains intact, but another 5-11 season will not be well received. And for the Tennessee Titans, the Titans enjoyed a 9-win season under first-year coach Mike Vrabel in 2018, and the reemergence of Derrick Henry powered a late-season run. Indianapolis swept Tennessee, however, and the response for the Titans was to add veterans such as Cameron Wake, Adam Humphries, and former Dolphins starter Ryan Tannehill via free agency, Jeffrey Simmons, who is recovering from a torn ACL, and A.J. Brown, a draft day steal at receiver, could contribute as rookies. The Titans and Jaguars have improved on paper, but they have serious work to do on the field in order to keep up with the Texans and Colts, who are true AFC playoff contenders. O'Brien is 1-3 in the playoffs with the Texans, and that tough schedule makes it hard to believe they will finish 11-5 again. I am intrigued by the Colts as a Super Bowl contender, but they also have to survive a tough road schedule that begins with the LA Chargers and Tennessee. The October 20 and November 21 dates with the Houston Texans should be circled on the Colts calendar because those games will decide the division. I got the Jacksonville Jaguars finishing last. I got them going 4-12. I got the Tennessee Titans finishing third, going 5-11. Houston Texans finished second at 8-8. And I got the Indianapolis Colts winning the AFC South again with a record of 11-5. watch out for Indy. They're going to make some noise this year. I believe it. They could be a serious threat to New England and Kansas City when it comes to the AFC. So nothing more to say on that. That's my thoughts on the South. MF, what says you?
It all hinges on the injury. If Andrew Luck is at 100% and fully healthy for the whole season, I agree they'll win the division. If they don't, then it is Houston's to lose. Houston will win the division. I kind of hinge on that kind of situation. So I'm sorry, Anthony. I disagree. I got the Houston Texans winning the AFC South. I got Indy second, but I do believe they could come close to wild card. I don't know if they're going to get it or not. Third will be Tennessee, and yes, Jacksonville will be dead last. So let's move on.
And keep your mic on, MF, because you'll be leading off on our final division of the AFC West, and there are two certain teams in that division. I think you know which two I'm talking about. And you remember, MF, that Thursday night, that wild and crazy Thursday night game, Week 15 last year, a cold night in Arrowhead. But the Chargers, the Chiefs and the Chargers, those two teams are going to make this division hella fun.
Oh, yes.
So, your thoughts on the West?
It's Chiefs and Chargers right now. It's a 1-2 horse race. One of these guys is going to win the division. The other team is going to be in the second place and most likely going to get the wild card. I got the Chiefs winning division. I got the Chargers in second place. And unfortunately, it doesn't matter who comes in third or fourth. I got Denver coming in third, and I got Denver coming in third, and I got the Raiders coming in dead last. There's really nothing more for me to say. So I think the Chiefs win the division, and that's basically it. So nothing more to say. Anthony, it's yours.
Of the NFL divisions that featured two team races at the top last season, the AFC West featured the closest competition. Don't expect that to change this year. The Chiefs and Chargers finished with the same record, 12-4, last season. Both ended up falling short of the Super Bowl after falling to the New England Patriots in the playoffs. The Raiders, in their second year under John Gruden, are looking to start fresh after the coach's hands-on massive overhaul assisted by Mike Mayock. The Broncos are undergoing even more transition with Vic Fangio and Joe Flacco as their new veteran coach quarterback combination. For the Denver Broncos, Fangio is going with Flacco over second-round pick Drew Lock as the starting QB, which means the Broncos will stick with an old-school defensive and running-minded approach to win games this year. Denver's talented defense will get a big boost from Fangio, fresh off his elite work with Chicago's 3-4 scheme. The question remains how many lumps the Broncos will take with a shaky bridge quarterback who, unlike John Elway, thinks is past his prime. For the Kansas City Chiefs, the Chiefs have already recovered well from the loss of Kareem Hunt late last season, and with the exception of one position, their offense around MVP Patrick Mahomes remains intact. Coach Andy Reid also didn't shy away from making a necessary defensive change, turning to Steve Spagnuolo to install a base 4-3 with newly acquired end Frank Clark as its anchor. Kansas City will remain highly explosive on one side of the ball and much less volatile on the other. For the LA Chargers, the Chargers have a tenuous holdout situation with Melvin Gordon, but as one saw last season, they're loaded beyond running back with excellent playmakers around Phillip Rivers, a group that now includes healthy tight end Hunter Henry. Defensively, from Joey Bosa to Derwin James, they can still clean up on every level. The Chargers will carry their mentally tough identity under Coach Anthony Lynn through another playoff push. And for the Oakland Raiders, the Raiders get a do-over for Gruden with 6 new offensive starters, wide receiver Antonio Brown, and running back Josh Jacobs. Oakland also has at least 6 new defensive starters, including first-round draft picks Cleveland Farrell and Jonathan Abram. Now the trick is bringing all those pieces together on and off the field. Oakland is set up for improvement, but the amount of improvement is tied to the play of quarterback Derek Carr with his upgraded supporting cast. The Chiefs will rule the division for a 4th consecutive season and make the playoffs in strong fashion for the 6th time in 7 years with Andy Reid. Patrick Mahomes will not drop off much, The defense will benefit from more calculated aggression. The Chiefs also can navigate their first place schedule. The Chargers have a few more obstacles, which will create separation between the contenders. The Raiders will be better because of their offense, but they will still be limited initially by their defense. The Broncos need to accept that they're in more of a rebuild mode than John Elway would like to admit. I have the Raiders and the Broncos finishing tied with the same record. I got both teams going 5-11. I got the Chargers finishing second with a record of 11-5. And I think the Kansas City Chiefs are going to be the best team in the AFC this year. I got them going an unprecedented 14-2 this year. I really believe that's how good that team is. So we'll go over the final standings at the end of our preview. So that's how it is for the AFC for now. Now let's go over to the NFC. And we start in the NFC East. The NFC East, in line with its recent history, was one of the NFL's tightest and toughest divisions last season. The Dallas Cowboys at 10-6 edged out the Philadelphia Eagles 9-7 to take back the division title, while the Redskins 7-9 and Giants 5-11 remained rather competitive. Dallas 3 years ago went 13-3, and Philadelphia is only 2 years removed from a Super Bowl victory. Those teams will look to maintain their momentum as NFC playoff teams and conference championship contenders, while Washington and New York work to catch up after drafting quarterbacks in the first round of this year's NFL draft. For the Dallas Cowboys, they will hit another gear in their offense. Dak Prescott and Amari Cooper will remain in a total groove as new play caller Kellen Moore gets a lot more out of the passing game to complement Ezekiel Elliott and the running game. That good blend of ball control and explosiveness will put a talented defense anchored by linebackers Leighton Vander Esch and Jalen Smith in position to make a lot of plays. Dallas was the league's hottest team down the stretch last season, and that momentum will carry into 2019. For the New York Giants, they are bound to take a step back after losing players such as Odell Beckham Jr., Olivier Vernon, and Landon Collins in the offseason. Their offense can recover better than their defense can because it still has Saquon Barkley, Sterling Shepard, Evan Engram, and Golden Tate to help mitigate no OBJ. New York will find it tougher to outscore opponents, though, as they will have trouble stopping anybody on every level. For the Philadelphia Eagles, the Eagles paid Carson Wentz, and now they need him to stay healthy, with Nick Foles, their season-end savior of the past 2 years, now in Jacksonville. They remain loaded offensively around the quarterback, even with a transition in the backfield. Defensively, there also are very few holes. Philly and Dallas are set up for another epic battle for first place in the NFC East. And for the Washington Redskins, the Redskins have more optimism on defense with Collins and rookie first-round Montez Sweat, but their offense no longer has the stability of Alex Smith. Rookie first-rounder Dwayne Haskins has high upside and a good shot to start right away over Case Keenum, but there are other concerns in the passing game, and the team might not be able to rely on Darius Skice in the backfield. The forecast doesn't look good for Coach Jay Gruden. The Cowboys, I think, will nip the Eagles once again, and Jason Garrett will do his best coaching job since 2016. Dallas is capable of turning the corner from solid last year to spectacular this season, while Philadelphia still has a high ceiling and also can be a big postseason factor. Dak Prescott, though, will take a leap that is time, with the Cowboys locking him up as their franchise quarterback. The Giants will discover that Eli Manning to Daniel Jones is a satisfying QB transition, but they will be lost without their signature defensive strengths. The Redskins have been winning more games than they should of late, and that will catch up with them without Smith as they finish in an uncomfortable tie for last place, putting a rebuild further in motion. Giants and Redskins tied for last. I got them both going 4-12. I got the Philadelphia Eagles going 11-5. And by a smidge, I got the Dallas Cowboys going 12-4 and winning the NFC East. Good MF Michael Fletcher. Let's get your thoughts on the NFC East, and then we'll catch Michael Bullock.
All right. I totally agree with what you're saying. I'm definitely with the fact that I got Dallas also winning the division as well. I got Philadelphia in second. I got the Giants third, and I got Washington in dead last. So yeah, you're absolutely right. I really got nothing more to say about that. So yeah, I'm done. So let's get Bullock caught up.
All right, Michael Bullock, come on in. Let's get you caught up on what you missed on our NFL preview so far on this season finale of Strictly Sports. So we started off with the AFC East. Gee, I wonder who you have winning that division.
Yeah, I mean, I got the New England Patriots once again reigning supreme, winning the division again. I mean, I just don't see how the Buffalo Bills or the Miami Dolphins or even the New York Jets are primed to challenge the Patriots. I don't, with the roster I see from the three other teams, I just don't see how they can match up with them. So unless I see something that could really convince me, I got to go with my team, the New England Patriots, to once again win the AFC East.
Okay. How do you see Buffalo, the Jets, and Miami finishing? Like second, third, fourth? How do you see them finishing?
All right. As far as who's going to finish second, third, and fourth? Oh man, that's a tough one. I mean, to me, I think because of who the Jets have, I think I got them finishing second, and I got the Buffalo Bills finishing third and Miami finishing fourth. Because the thing is, with the Dolphins, yeah, you got Fitzpatrick and Rosen. What have they done? Yeah, Fitzpatrick has had some moments, but can he really carry this Dolphins team? Because this Dolphins team is doesn't look like a team that could finish second or third, as far as I'm concerned.
All right. Let's move on to the AFC North. Who do you have winning the division, and who do you have finishing second, third, fourth? Just like MF and I've been, going about.
All right. Who do I have winning the AFC North? Man, well, first off, who do you guys have winning the North?
Well, we had a disagreement here. MF had the Baltimore Ravens. I have the Cleveland Browns.
Well, who do I go with? I'm going to go with Anthony Florio. I'm going to go with the Cleveland Browns. I think this is their time. After the way they finished last season, and now with who they added during the off season, I think they're primed. I think this is their time. I got the Baltimore Ravens finishing in second place, and on top of that, Florio, I got them as one of the two wild cards to represent from the AFC, and then finishing third, I got the Pittsburgh Steelers. Yeah, I think them losing Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell. Yeah, you still got some key players, but yeah, I think losing them could really hurt them. And then finishing in last place. Oh my gosh, who was the team that I have left? Oh, the Cincinnati Bengals. Yeah, I got the Cincinnati Bengals finishing last.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with that more. AFC South. What do you think of that?
All right, the AFC South. Man, I got the Indianapolis Colts winning the AFC South. After what they did with Andrew Luck, and I think that they're definitely primed to once again win that. And then as far as who I think is going to finish second, I think it's going to be a bounce back year for the Jags. I think they'll finish second, and yeah, and then of course finishing third. Who is it that's left? I'm trying to.
Houston and Tennessee.
All right, man, that's. And I got Houston finishing in third place, and I got Tennessee finishing in last place.
Wow. Okay. And then
But I mean, it's just tough. I mean, when it comes to those
Fair
teams who.
yeah, that's fair enough. Fair enough. No worries. AFC West.
All right, AFC West. Obviously, I'm going to go with the Kansas City Chiefs to win that division.
Yep.
I mean, I think it's going to be. I don't see any letdown for Pat Mahomes off his MVP season, and yes, finishing second, I got the LA Chargers. Finishing third is the Denver Broncos, and in last place will be the Oakland Raiders.
And the division that MF and I just covered, the NFC East.
Oh, and one more thing regarding the AFC, I got the Chargers as the other wild card.
Okay. NFC East.
Yeah. All right, now to the NFC East. All right, this one here. I mean, to me, I got to go with the Philadelphia Eagles. And then finishing second will be the Dallas Cowboys. Finishing third will be the Washington Redskins. And last place will be the New York Giants.
All right. And you are all caught up. So we're going to move on to our next division. And that division is the NFC North. And we're going to start it off with good old MF Michael Fletcher. So MF, looking at the NFC North, how do you see it playing out this time around?
I gotta say, I just don't feel like it's gonna be much of what we saw from last year. Look, I know a lot of people are saying that, Green Bay's, you don't know what the floor is gonna look like for Green Bay. You don't know what the floor is gonna look like for Minnesota. I know what the floor looks like for Chicago, and it looks great. So, once again, I got to go with the Monsters of the Midway, the Chicago Bears winning the division. I got to go with the Minnesota Vikings going second. The Green Bay Packers is third, and that means the poor Detroit Lions. Sorry, guys, but I got you dead last again. So, nothing more to say. Bears, Vikings, Packers, and Lions at the end. Michael Bullock, I give it to you.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I got the Chicago Bears winning the NFC North. I mean, I think that defense is the reason why, and the emergence of Mitchell Trubisky, I think, really helped them out. I think it's going to help them out again this season. I got the Minnesota Vikings finishing in second place, and then in third it'll be the Green Bay Packers, and then the Detroit Lions. Absolutely, they are dead last. So yeah, so there's really nothing more for me to say. Florio, it's yours.
The Chicago Bears traded for Khalil Mack last season, and it tilted the balance of power in the NFC North in their favor. Chicago won the division last season for the first time since 2010, behind first-year coach Matt Nagy and quarterback Mitchell Trubisky, despite a heartbreaking loss to the Philadelphia Eagles in the wild card round in the playoffs. This team has playoff experience and will be in the mix with the other Super Bowl contenders. The Bears begin the NFL's 100th year against the Packers in the Thursday night season opener, a game that also will mark a new chapter in Green Bay with first-year coach Matt LaFleur. Will LaFleur work well with two-time NFL MVP Aaron Rodgers? The Vikings also will be in the mix, and the Lions are working into their second year under Matt Patricia. Minnesota's Kirk Cousins and Detroit's Matthew Stafford can beat anybody, including the Bears and Packers on any given week. All of that makes this division race even more intriguing than usual. For the Chicago Bears, Chicago added more pieces around Trubisky. Running back Jordan Howard is gone, but the Bears drafted Iowa State's David Montgomery and added Mike Davis in free agency. Cordarrelle Patterson is back in the division and gives Trubisky another downfield threat. The defense added former Green Bay safety HaHa Clinton-Dix, along with corner Buster Skrine. Mack had 12.5 sacks in his first season in Chicago. Chuck Pagano replaces Vic Fangio as defensive coordinator, and the change is something to monitor early in the season, especially against Rodgers in the opener. For the Detroit Lions, Matt Patricia had an up-and-down first season as head coach in Detroit. Running back Kerryon Johnson impressed in 7 games as a rookie before a season-ending knee injury. Stafford enters his 11th season, still looking for his first playoff victory. And first-round tight end Dustin Hockenson gives the QB another red zone target. Trey Flowers and Danny Amendola joined from New England. Patricia, however, must show progress in year 2. Green Bay Packers. The Packers are beginning a new era. Clay Matthews and Randall Cobb are gone. Safety Adrian Amos is among the flurry of defensive additions to the roster that continued in the draft with Rashawn Gary and Darnell Savage Jr. Defensive coordinator Mike Pettin was retained, and the unit should be better. In this case, the best offense for Rodgers will be an improved defense. The fit between LaFleur and Rodgers will be the most scrutinized piece of the puzzle. Can Rodgers return to MVP form with a new supporting cast? And for the Minnesota Vikings, was Kirk Cousins worth the big contract? He passed for 4,298 yards, 30 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions, and kept Minnesota around 500. That's what he has done his entire career. Adam Thielen and Stephon Diggs are a 1,000-yard tandem that will continue to thrive with offensive coordinator Kevin Stefanski. The Vikings didn't make a big splash in free agency, but drafting center Garrett Bradbury and tight end Irv Smith Jr. will be felt on the offensive side. I understand the risk of picking a team that is 13, 15, and 1 over the last 2 seasons, but it's very tough. But I'm taking a chance, and I'm going with the Green Bay Packers. Aaron Rodgers has something to prove, too. The switch to LaFleur should put Green Bay back on track in the division, one the Packers have dominated for most of the decade with 5 titles. If Aaron Jones stays healthy in the backfield and Rodgers relies more on the running game, then it will happen again. The Bears will be in the mix, and that's what makes the Thursday night opener so important. It sets the tone for the entire division. There will be several reminders of Rodgers' Week 1 performance against Chicago last year, too. Minnesota and Detroit have more question marks, but both have what it takes to make a wildcard run. It's an intriguing division that will be defined by quarterback play in the end. I'm taking the best one, and that's why Green Bay, I think, will slimly win the division. So I agree with Detroit being last. Absolutely. I got them going 5-11. I got Minnesota finishing third at 9-7. I got Chicago at 11-5. And by a smidge, keyword smidge, Green Bay 12-4. So that's all there is to say on that. Let's move on now to the NFC South. Michael Bullock, you started off.
All right, when it comes to the NFC South, I mean, you know who I'm going to go with. I got to go with the New Orleans Saints. I mean, and I'll tell you what, this year for the New Orleans Saints, you know it's going to be a lot about one thing, guys. Retribution for them, because they felt like they were robbed in that NFC Championship game. And they felt like they should have been the ones going to the Super Bowl. But that's not the case. So to me, I got the excuse me. I got the Saints winning the division, and coming in second place will be. All right, well, who else is in there? The Atlanta Falcons, the Carolina Panthers, and one more team.
Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
All right. Finishing second, I've got the Atlanta Falcons. Third place will be the Carolina Panthers. And then in dead last, obviously, it's going to be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So, Florio, it is yours.
Entering 2019, the NFC South has a strong argument as the best division in the NFL. A deep playoff run for the Saints, Falcons, or Panthers should surprise nobody. And the Buccaneers, even in a coaching transition, have enough talent to make some noise of their own. This also makes the NFC South the toughest to predict. Defending champion New Orleans is the favorite to win what would be its 3rd consecutive title, but Carolina and Atlanta are a sniff of Saints blood away from chomping at the bit. Three things factored into the Falcons and Panthers both falling to 7-9 last year and allowing the Saints to run away with the division. Injuries, injuries, and injuries. Will presumed health in Atlanta and Carolina bring the records closer together, or is New Orleans that much more talented than its challengers? For the Atlanta Falcons, personnel is not a problem in Atlanta. The paper trail is proof. Defensive studs Grady Jarrett and Deion Jones are locked in with new contracts, and the unit that allowed 26.4 points a game last season and ranked 25th in the NFL is a virtual guarantee to improve with sustained health. Offensively, the Julio Jones contract is the only personnel-related question surrounding a top 10 unit from a season ago. The wild cards for the Falcons then are their coordinator changes. Coach Dan Quinn, who will call the plays on defense, brought in Dirk Cutter as offensive coordinator and Mike Mularkey to coach tight ends. These guys are respected veterans in coaching, and based on early signs, there is little reason to believe the coordinator shuffle will fail. For the Carolina Panthers, let's try that again. These words feel like the theme for Carolina in 2019. The Norv Turner era was off to a great start last year before the Panthers season went the way of Cam Newton's shoulder, a slow decline and eventually failure. Such is life for a team so dependent on the play of its QB. Coach Ron Rivera is taking over as the defensive play caller as the team transitions to a base 3-4, worthy changes for a unit that needs to produce more of a pass rush and create more turnovers to complement that potentially powerful offense. Of course, always for the Panthers, any defensive concerns are alleviated by Luke Kuechly. For the New Orleans Saints, for the second consecutive year, the Saints entered the season in reload mode after suffering a heartbreaking, frustrating defeat in the playoffs. They were aggressive enough in free agency to find answers amid the departures of the likes of Mark Ingram, Ben Watson, Alex Okafor, and Ben Watson. The late season struggles Drew Brees experienced last season are concerning at his age, but the Saints' still strong personnel, supplemented by continuity in the coaching staff, gives New Orleans the highest floor in this division. And for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, with a new look depth chart and a fresh approach from an overhauled coaching staff, one of two things will happen for the Bucs this year. Either new coach Bruce Arians' methods will push quarterback Jameis Winston to new heights, and the 25-year-old passer will earn a long-term contract in Tampa Bay as a result, or the mistake-prone nature of Winston's play will be amplified, ending his tenure with the team that drafted him first overall 5 years ago. While Winston's prove-it season is the biggest storyline in Tampa Bay for 2019, it's only one of many for a team introducing a handful of new players and some scheme changes. Arians hired Todd Bowles to be his defensive coordinator, and the former Jets head coach brings with him a new base 3-4 defense. Byron Leftwich is also on hand as the offensive play caller to help Arians coach an offense known to push the ball downfield and feature multiple looks. One thing is certain, for better or worse, the Buccaneers are a team worth watching this year. So with that being said, the total injuries took on this division last season is Exhibit A in the museum of why NFL picks are pointless. So let's operate on the clean slate that is 4 healthy rosters. If that's the case, New Orleans is still the best team in the NFC South by a good bit. With that roster edge, the Saints are best equipped to manage a schedule that features legit challenges from the AFC South and NFC West. New Orleans will be tested on the road in Chicago, Seattle, and an NFC Championship game rematch against the LA Rams. But the Colts, 49ers, Texans, and Cowboys have to travel to the Superdome. With that, the Saints are set up for their three-peat. So I got Tampa Bay finishing 4th at 3-13. Carolina and Atlanta tied for 2nd, both going 8-8. And I got the New Orleans Saints running away with the South and a record of 13-3. So there's really nothing more to say on this. MF, NFC South, your thoughts?
I do agree that I'm going to give the division to New Orleans. I think they're the best team out there. No doubt about it. Agreed. I am concerned now for Carolina, and especially after last night's injury to Cam Newton. That really, really, really worries me now. They're saying that he's all right. They're saying it's not serious, but it's bad. It's a bad injury. At the end of the day, I do agree. My feeling goes is New Orleans 1. I'm going to say Atlanta 2, Carolina 3, Tampa 4. Bullock, it's yours.
Bullock led off actually, MF. So we will move on.
Sorry.
No problem. And we move on to our final division of the night, the NFC West. And I will start this one off. Let me just get my notes here. Okay. In many ways, the NFC West in 2019 features new wrinkles that will reshape the division's standings as the season progresses. The most notable, of course, are the quarterback developments in San Francisco and Arizona, two bottom feeder teams from a year ago that have reason for optimism centered around their passers. But at the same time, the NFC West in 2019 could be more of the same. The Rams, winners of the division in each of the last two seasons, remain loaded in the wake of their Super Bowl run. And at the risk of being overly simplistic, as long as the Seahawks have Russell Wilson making plays at a Pro Bowl level, Seattle will remain a contender. The two key wildcards in the NFC West are the aforementioned 49ers and Cardinals offenses. Jimmy Garoppolo and Kyler Murray both cracked the Sporting News list of the QBs with most to prove in 2019, albeit for different reasons. Their successes or failures, combined with the staying power of the Rams and Seahawks, will define this season in the division. For the Arizona Cardinals, with a rookie coach in Cliff Kingsbury and another rookie quarterback for 2019 in Murray, the Cardinals have done everything they could to make their 2018 season a desert mirage. Along with Arizona's hiring of Kingsbury and its drafting of Murray, the Cardinals will have at least 8 new starters overall. The personnel moves were necessary as Kingsbury goes to more of a wide-open, versatile offense, and new defensive coordinator Vance Joseph reverts that unit back to an aggressive 3-4 scheme. For a complete but quick reboot, the Cardinals enjoyed a strong offseason of upgrades. For the Los Angeles Rams, the Rams essentially entered 2019 with a quote-unquote run-it-back mentality. The key pieces of their Super Bowl team return and are supplemented by free agent signees Eric Weddle and Clay Matthews, necessary additions to a defense that ranked 20th in points allowed a game at 24 last season. Save for the shaky knee situation with star and highly paid running back Todd Gurley, there is no reason to anticipate any kind of drop-off from an offense that ranked second in the NFL with 32.9 points a game last season. All of LA's key personnel remains intact and ready to thrive with some Sean McVay magic. For the San Francisco 49ers, the 49ers are coming off a disappointing 4-12 season, but because many of their struggles were tied to the early season-ending knee injury suffered by Garoppolo, they made a handful of calculated moves to improve in 2019. A massive overhaul was not necessary. General Manager John Lynch took advantage of the number 2 overall pick and drafted Nick Bosa, doubling down on the 49ers' edge rush upgrade after trading for Dee Ford. While the defensive focus was on the front 7, the offensive tweaking was made with the intention of improving the skill positions around Garoppolo. And for the Seattle Seahawks, the joke was on us. The joke was on us for thinking Seattle would struggle last season. Lesson learned, especially for a team that went 10-6 and could be even better this year. The Seahawks think they finally have their offensive line settled. Their running game is versatile. Their defense, though not exactly Legion of Boom 2.0, is more than serviceable. Last year, the meshing of Coach Pete Carroll, defensive coordinator Ken Norton Jr., and offensive coordinator Brian Schottenheimer yielded surprisingly strong results. This year, with some continuity now on their side, along with strong personnel, the Seahawks aren't sneaking up on anybody. There is a lot to love about the Seahawks and 49ers this season. There is also a lot to hate about their schedules, beyond the likely cannibalism in the division. With the NFC West facing the AFC North and NFC South this year, Seattle must travel to Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Atlanta, and Carolina. San Francisco draws those same teams at home, but it has to go to Baltimore and New Orleans. The Rams are still the team in this division that is best equipped to deal with so many tough matchups. That schedule, LA has to go to Cleveland, Atlanta, Pittsburgh, and Dallas outside of its division, is the reason I have the Rams projected to drop off by a couple games from last year's 13-3 record, but still win the NFC West. So I've got the Arizona Cardinals finishing last at 3-13. I got the Seattle Seahawks and San Francisco 49ers both tied at 8-8, second. And I got the LA Rams winning the NFC West with a record of 11-5. So nothing more to say. MF, it's basically the Rams division to lose here.
And I agree. I think it is the Rams division to lose. They're just far and away the best team out there. The one thing I would be worried about is Todd Gurley. Gurley's injury really kind of torpedoed him in the Super Bowl, because if he was fully healthy and he was the Gurley that we saw, I don't think the Patriots wins that Super Bowl, honestly, guys. But Gurley was a non-factor, and even when he was in the game, he was really a non-factor in the Super Bowl. But I truly believe that the Rams should win the division, and I do got them winning it. Second, man, I don't know. I'm not as high on San Francisco than I am with Seattle. So I'm going to say Seattle 2, San Fran 3, and yes, I got Arizona dead last. Michael Bullock, I give it to you. Mike?
Yeah, I'm right here. Yeah, when it comes to this, I mean, I do agree. I got the LA Rams winning the division. I mean, I think they could, fall back a little bit because, like you said, we don't know what we're going to get from Todd Gurley, especially the way he struggled near the end of the playoffs. So, yeah, I still got the Rams winning the division. I do agree with Michael Fletcher. I'm going to go with the Seattle Seahawks finishing second. The San Francisco 49ers finishing in third place. And then in dead last, obviously, it's going to be the Arizona Cardinals. So, yeah, nothing more to say, Florio. Let's just move on.
And let's go over our final standings, for the conferences. For the AFC, I have, when it comes to the East, I have only New England coming out. I have, for the division winners, rather, I have, in no particular order, Chiefs, Patriots, Colts, Browns as division winners. And I got the Chargers and the Steelers as my wild card teams. In the NFC, Packers, Saints, Cowboys, Rams, division winners. And wild card teams, Eagles, the Philadelphia Eagles, and the Chicago Bears as my NFC wild card teams. So, MF, your final six for the AFC and the NFC.
New England, Baltimore, Houston, Kansas City, and I got Indy and the Chargers coming out as wild cards. NFC, Dallas, Chicago, New Orleans, and the Rams. And I will have Minnesota and Atlanta as my wild cards. Michael Bullock, it's yours.
The Patriots, the Patriots, the Cleveland Browns, the Indianapolis Colts, and the Kansas City Chiefs are my division winners. And for the wild card, I got the Baltimore Ravens and the LA Chargers. And as far as the NFC, I got the Philadelphia Eagles, the New Orleans Saints, the Chicago Bears, and the LA Rams. And I got the Minnesota Vikings and Seattle Seahawks as my 2 wild card teams. So Florio, let's just move on.
All right. So there you have it, folks. Hopefully we helped you when it comes to your NFL projections. So let's move on to the opening game of the college football season. It will take place tomorrow night in what they're technically calling week 0. Okay. One of the great rivalries in college football history, two of the greatest programs of all time, the Florida Gators and the Miami Hurricanes from Camping World Stadium in Orlando, Florida, tomorrow night on ESPN, kicking off the 150th season of college football. My goodness. 100 years for the NFL, and now it's 150 for college football. Excuse me. So Miami and Florida. I'm trying to think how we did the order here.
I lead off.
Oh, you lead off. Okay. I just wanted to be sure. So, all right, MF. Miami and Florida. Florida is opening up as a 7.5-point favorite. And this is the 56th all-time meeting. Miami with a slightly 29-26. So with all that being said, your thoughts on Florida and Miami and what they're calling week 0. Okay.
The reason why they're saying it's week 0 is because of the fact that this is the first game. Week 1 is next week, and the thing is this is the only game that's on the docket. So that's why this is week 0. Because all the other games, and I'm looking at, because I got the top 25 here, the first actual game is not until Thursday. So that's why. So technically, that's why they're saying this is week 0. So because it's only just one game, there's no other games out there. So that's why you got that. But it is a top 10 game because Florida is number 8 overall. Miami is unranked. Florida and Miami have the college football stage all to themselves for 3.5 hours. A new chapter in their once heated and storied rivalry. The 8th-ranked Gators and the rebuild Hurricanes will usher in the 2019 season inside a packed stadium in Orlando, surrounded by sideline celebrities and in front of a coast-to-coast live national televised audience. Everybody's watching Florida. Receiver Freddie Swan, who doesn't like the attention. The winner will surely reveal in the spotlight, as both teams will embrace the opportunities to set the tone for the season in front of more than their friends and their fans and family members. What are we going to see? Florida coach Dan Mullen said, "What's our stamp? When every person in the country turns on their TV and what's their thought of the Florida Gators, will have to go out there and live that up on the field. What do you think? What of them to think about you?" The Gators certainly think highly of themselves, especially after notching 10 wins last season, which was Mullen's first season, and closing out with a triumphant campaign after resounding victories over Florida State, which was 41-14, and in the bowl game against Michigan, 41-15. Don't even get me started with that. But Florida now has the highest preseason ranking since Urban Meyer's final season in Gainesville in 2010. Sounds like more optimistic heading into the opener. But players don't seem to care. Most don't even know that they have lost have lost 7 of their last 8 and 12 out of their last 16 against the U. I think the team is special. Quarterback Felipe Franks said, we're expected to go out there and win every Sunday and try to become a playoff contender and win the championship here again. That's the expectations every year. It hasn't been the reality since Urban Meyer left, but Mullen has the program on the upswing. They jumped 8 spots to the 5th in the conference last year in scoring since Mullen's debut, and the offense is kind of prowess has been because since Tim Tebow left Gainesville as a graduate. Miami Hurricanes head coach Manny Diaz, who spent 2 years with Mullins and Mississippi State, can only hope for something similar as a first-year coach. The team former defensive coordinator inherits a mix of holdovers and holes. I will find out how we can handle adversity. Diaz brought in former coach Jimmy Johnson, who won 3 Super Bowl championships with the Dallas Cowboys, to speak to the team. Mullen countered with Tim Tebow to talk about the games about the upcoming game with the Hurricanes. Johnson went 3-1 during his stint as a Canes and put more insight on the series than any other. It brings to the city and the history and things how they work hard and focus. Linebacker Shaq Quarterman said, we can go with Winn-Dixie and a fan to try to give the illustrious history of Miami. But this is a very important game, to say the very least. Like Anthony said, this is the 56th matchup between the two. And the one thing that we got to watch for is Jalen Williams, who becomes the 13th different quarterback in the last 20 years. And he's also a redshirt freshman. He hadn't put massive numbers against the Hurricanes since Ken Dorsey did when they averaged 177 yards. But Malik Rozier threw for 272 against Duke in 2015. He hasn't been in the line of fire and probably will be interested to see what he can do on Saturday. A lot of fresh faces on both sides of the ball, and this is definitely going to be a big matchup because College Game Day will be in Orlando for the game to hype up the matchup. So how's that going to go? Well, we're going to wait and find out. At the end of the day, I got to give Florida the advantage because they are coming off some big wins. Manny Diaz, we don't know what they're going to look. We don't know what the defense is going to look. We don't know what they're going to get out of it. So I'm going to go with the sure thing here. When it's all said and done, Florida wins the game. This is going to be a very interesting matchup. But at the end of the night, I think it's going to be 35-24. Florida knocks off Miami. Michael Bullock, I give it to you.
Yeah, who do you have winning, Fletch?
He's got Florida.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Florida Gators as well. Yeah, I'll go with the 35-31 score as well. So, yeah, there's really nothing more to say. Florio, it's yours.
And I was doing some investigative reporting. That's why I was a little shaky there. But I got all the notes I need. The A team's going to be there, folks. Chris Fowler, Kirk Herbstreit, Maria Taylor. They'll be at the Citrus Bowl in Orlando for this game tomorrow. With that being said, in-state rivals open the 150th season of college football when number 8 Florida meets Miami at 7 p.m. tomorrow night at Camping World Stadium / Citrus Bowl in Orlando. Expectations are on the rise at Florida under second-year coach Dan Mullen, who led the Gators to 10 wins last season and is hoping for continued development from veteran quarterback Felipe Franks this season. Miami will have a first-year coach Manny Diaz and first-time starter Jarren Williams at quarterback. The Hurricanes will look to pull the big upset in a game that will start what should be a fun season. that in mind, here's everything we need to know about this matchup. It'll be on ESPN. Florida is a 7.5-point favorite. Florida and Miami first met in 1938, and the Hurricanes have a 29-26 edge in the all-time series. 3 trends to know. Number 1, the Gators and Hurricanes played every season from 1944 to 1987 before the rivalry took a hiatus. Since the 2000 season, Miami has won 5 of 6 meetings, including 2 bowl games on neutral sites. 2, Florida was 3-3 against the spread as a favorite against Power 5 teams last year, including losses to Kentucky and Missouri. And number 3, Miami is 1-4 as an underdog the last 2 seasons, with the only game last season a loss to Virginia. The Hurricanes are 3-3 against ranked teams in the same 2-year stretch. 3 things to watch. Florida quarterback Felipe Franks. In Florida's last 4 games of 2018, all wins, Franks averaged 215.5 passing yards and 44.3 rushing yards to go along with 12 total touchdowns and no interceptions. If Franks has 250-plus yards of offense, 3 touchdowns, and at most 1 turnover, then the Gators will be in good shape. The chess match with Miami linebacker Shaq Quarterman, who has averaged more than 10 tackles for loss the last 3 seasons, will be interesting as well. Number 2, Miami's quarterbacks. Jaron Williams threw just 3 passes last season, but he still earned the nod over N'Kosi Perry and transfer Tate Martell. And he will have to be better than Malik Rozier was in the opener against LSU last season. DJ Dallas, who averages 5.6 yards a carry over his career at Miami, but has never been a full-time back, needs to make an early impact to keep Florida's pass rush honest. And 3, big play receivers. Which team makes the chunk plays through the air? In this game, that means 1 or 2 vertical shots to the house. Miami's Jeff Thomas averaged 16.1 yards a catch with 3 touchdowns last season. Florida's Van Jefferson averaged 14.4 yards a catch with 6 touchdowns. Those are the 2 playmakers on the perimeter who have to make a difference. The stat that matters, Florida ranked in the top 10 in the FBS with a plus 12 turnover ratio in Dan Mullen's first season, a nod to a more aggressive defense. Miami plummeted to -1 last season after popularizing the infamous turnover chain with a plus 13 ratio in 2017. In a game that should be high on emotions early, the turnover ratio will be that much more important. The Hurricanes need to win this battle to have a chance to pull the upset. Prediction? Who gets the running game going early to set up those deep shots? Miami allowed just 3.3 yards a carry last season. Florida allowed 4.3. Both teams will come out tight offensively, and it comes down to which quarterback settles in first. Miami might even run a few trick plays early to feed off the first game emotion. Florida, however, will take control in the second half. Franks will be the difference maker that leads the Gators' victory. I agree. I have the Florida Gators winning this game as well. My final score is going to be 33-21. So 33-21, that's the final score. So I see that I guess MF has left for the evening. So no worries. I got the power rankings. I got them all set up. And Bullock, I know you'll agree with me on all of it. So I'm just going to take it for a spin. So starting at number 10 is going to be the Houston Astros. Winners of 2 in a row, 5-5 in their last 10 games, 83-47 overall record, which is a half a game behind the Yankees for the best record in the American League. A 7.5 game lead over Oakland in the AL West. They're second in batting average and whip, 4th in ERA, and 5th in runs scored. Since last week, when we did the power rankings, Houston lost 3 out of 4 to the Oakland A's in Oakland, but then rebounded by winning 3 out of 4 from the Detroit Tigers at home, and then they beat the Angels tonight 5-4. They have 2 more against the Angels this weekend, and then they got the Tampa Bay Rays coming in for 3 starting on Tuesday, and then next weekend they go to Toronto for a 3-game series with the Blue Jays up at the Skydome in Toronto. So that's all there is to say on that. Houston Astros, they come in at number 10. Number 9, it will be the Minnesota Twins. Despite losing 2 in a row, they are 6-4 in their last 10 games, 77-51, which is the 3rd best record in the American League. They only have a 2.5 game lead over the Cleveland Indians in the AL Central. The Twins are second in runs scored, fourth in batting average, eighth in ERA, and 10th in WHIP. Excuse me. Since our last rankings, a 4-game sweep of the Texas Rangers in Texas, outscoring them 35-19. But the downside is they did lose 2 out of 3 to the Chicago White Sox and then lost to the Detroit Tigers tonight. They have 2 more against the Tigers this weekend. They're off on Monday, and then they go to Chicago for a 3-game series with the White Sox on Tuesday. And then next weekend, a 3-game series back home, or actually on the road, against the Detroit Tigers. Actually, it's a 4-game series against the Detroit Tigers. So that's all there is to say on that. Minnesota Twins come in at number 9. Number 8, this is where I have the Philadelphia Phillies. Philadelphia Phillies coming in at number 8. They lost their last game, but they're 6-4 in their last 10 games. 66-61 overall. 4th in the NL East, 10.5 behind the Braves. They're 17th in runs scored and ERA, 18th in WHIP, 21st in batting average. Since the last rankings, as I get the numbers up here, okay. They lost 2 out of 3 to the San Diego Padres. They swept Bullock's Red Sox in a brief 2-game interleague series at Fenway this week. And they did lose tonight to the Miami Marlins in a wild game, 19-11. Wow, very high scoring affair. 2 more games in Miami with the Marlins this weekend. And then on Monday, they got the Pittsburgh Pirates coming in for a 3-game series. They're off on Thursday. And then they got a big series, a 3-game series at home against the New York Mets. Very major implications in that one, without a doubt. So Philadelphia Phillies, they come in at number 8. Number 7, this is where I have, speaking of the Mets, it is the New York Mets at number 7, 67-61. Also, like the Phillies, lost their last game, but 6-4 in their last 10. 10th in batting average and ERA, 11th in WHIP, 15th in runs scored. Since the last rankings, they won 2 out of 3 from the Kansas City Royals in an interleague series. They swept the Cleveland Indians 3 in a row. That was the big reason right there. Outscoring them 15-5 in those 3 games. A tough loss to MF's Braves tonight, 2-1 in 14 innings. They have 2 more against Fletcher's Braves this weekend. They're off on Monday. And then they go up against Matt Ward's Chicago Cubs. And then they got to go to Philadelphia against the Phillies. And then they also have the Nats again. Then they got to play the Phillies. Oh, man, they got a very tough schedule ahead. It's a murderer's row schedule for the Mets. So we'll see what happens with them. But for now, they're number 7. Number 6, this is where I have the Tampa Bay Rays. Winners of 3 in a row, 6-4 in their last 10, 76-54 overall record. They're 7.5 games behind the Yankees in the AL East. They're 2nd in ERA, 3rd in WHIP, 15th in batting average, 18th in runs scored. Since our last rankings, they won 2 out of 3 from the Detroit Tigers. They did lose 2 out of 3 to the Seattle Mariners, but they are so far 2 for 2 in a 4-game series with the Baltimore Orioles, winning both games, outscoring them 12-3 in the process. 2 more games at the Orioles this weekend. They're off on Monday, and then murderer's row schedule. Starting Tuesday, they got to go to Houston for a 3-game series with the Astros, and then they got to come home and host the Cleveland Indians. That's got implications. And then the schedule settles down, soft schedule with the Orioles and Blue Jays coming in around Labor Day and the start of September. So Tampa Bay Rays coming in at number 6. Top 5. And we will start it off at number 5 with the St. Louis Cardinals. Winners of 2 in a row, 7-3 in their last 10 games, 69-58. A half-game lead over the Cubs in the NL Central. They are 5th in ERA, 6th in WHIP, 22nd in runs scored, 23rd in batting average. And since our last rankings, they split a 4-game series with the Cincinnati Reds 2-2. They won 2 out of 3 from the Milwaukee Brewers this week. And so far, they're 2 for 2 against the Colorado Rockies in a 4-game series. 2 more against the Rockies at home this weekend, including FS1 tomorrow. Then they got to go to Milwaukee for another big 3-game series with the Brewers on Monday night. Off on Thursday. And then the Cincinnati Reds come in for a 4-game series starting next week, including a day-night doubleheader next Saturday. So that's really all there is to say on that. St. Louis Cardinals coming in at number 5, rather. Now we're on to number 4. And my number 4 right now is the Los Angeles Dodgers. The best record in all of baseball right now, 85-44. They've won 3 in a row. They're 7-3 in their last 10 games. Largest division lead over any team right now. They lead the Arizona Diamondbacks by 21 games. 21-game lead. They lead the league in ERA and WHIP. They're 4th in runs scored. They're 9th in the batting average. And since our last rankings, they did lose 2 out of 3 to MF's Braves, but a 3-game sweep of the Toronto Blue Jays, and they outscored them 21-6 in the process. Starting the series of the year right now, the interleague series of the year with the New York Yankees, and it's not going so well. They are losing right now, 8-1 in the bottom half of the 6th inning. That encourages me as a Yankee fan, considering their recent struggles. 2 more against the Yankees this weekend, nationally televised. FS1 tomorrow afternoon, and then ESPN Sunday Night Baseball. Bullock, I think I know what you'll be watching Sunday night. And then starting Monday, a 3-game series with the Padres. They go to San Diego. And then next Thursday, they start a 4-game series with the Arizona Diamondbacks in Arizona. So, huge series, perhaps a World Series preview. We'll wait and see. But for right now, the Los Angeles Dodgers come in at number 4. Number 3, this is where I have the Washington Nationals. Washington Nationals come in at number 3, winners of 3 in a row, 8-2 in their last 10 games, 71-57 record, 6 games behind MF's Braves in the NL East. Nationals are 6th in batting average, 8th in runs scored. They're 11th in WHIP, and they're 12th in ERA. And let's see. Since our last rankings, they won 2 out of 3 from the Milwaukee Brewers. They won 3 out of 4 from the Pittsburgh Pirates. In those 3 games, they outscored the Brewers. They outscored the Pirates. Get this, 31-2 in those 3 wins. 31-2. Amazing. And then they went into Chicago and they beat up on Ward's Cubs 9-3. They have 2 more at Wrigley against Ward's Cubs this weekend, off on Monday. A 2-game interleague series with the Baltimore Orioles starting Tuesday. They're off on Thursday. And then next weekend, they got the Miami Marlins coming in before they have a tough stretch with the Mets, Braves, and Twins coming. So we'll see what happens with the Nats. Playing their best ball at the right time. So Washington Nationals come in at number 3. Number 2, this is where I have the Oakland Athletics, the Oakland A's. They're number 2. They've also won 3 in a row, and they're also 8-2 in their last 10, but they have the better record than Washington. They're 74-53. They're 7.5 behind Houston in the AL West. Since our last rankings, they're 5th in WHIP, 6th in ERA, 12th in runs scored, 20th in batting average. And just give me 1 second here. Okay. Since our last rankings, they won 3. And this is why they're number 2. You could easily make an argument for them to be number 1. But they, if they had swept Houston 4 in a row, combined with what they did to the Yankees, this team is very likely number 1 instead of who I have at number 1 right now. But since our last rankings, the A's won 3 out of, listen to this, they won 3 out of 4 from the Houston Astros, And then you think it couldn't get better than that. Well, guess what? It did. They swept my New York Yankees 3 in a row. They swept them out of the Oakland Coliseum. Outscored them 17-9 in that 3-game sweep. They're off tonight, but they'll be back in action tomorrow for a brief 2-game interleague weekend series with the San Francisco Giants in the Coliseum. That will obviously conjure up those memories of that infamous Earthquake World Series 30 years ago in 1989, which Oakland won 4 in a row, by the way. And then following that, Monday night, they start a 4-game series in Kansas City against the Dud Royals. And then next weekend, they see the Yankees again. This time it's at the stadium, at Yankee Stadium, 3-game series. Let's see if you can sweep them again. You swept them out in the Oakland Coliseum. Let's see if you can do it in their house. We'll see. So you made them mad, boys. That's all there is to say about that. You made my team mad, and they're taking out their frustrations on the Dodgers right now, and I couldn't be more delighted about that. So we'll see what happens come next week. We'll be ready for you. No doubt about it. Oakland A's are number 2. And number 1, I hate that MF left. I wish MF was still here because it is his team. Yes, his team, the Atlanta Braves. They come in at number 1 this week. Winners of 6 in a row, 8-2 in the last 10 games, 78-52. Second best record in the National League, only behind the Dodgers. And for the Braves, they're 6th in runs scored, 7th in batting average, 11th in ERA, 22nd in the WHIP. And for Atlanta, since our last rankings, they won 2 out of 3 from the Los Angeles Dodgers at home. Big deal. 3-game sweep of the Miami Marlins at home. No trouble. Outscored them 13-3 in those 3 games. And a 2-1 14-inning win over the Mets tonight at Citi Field. 2 more games against the Mets this weekend. A makeup game against the Colorado Rockies on Monday. And then on Tuesday, they go to Toronto for a brief 2-game interleague series with the Blue Jays. Off on Thursday. And then they have another interleague series with the Chicago White Sox coming in. And then they see the Blue Jays again. And then they have some big divisional games with the Nationals and the Phillies on the horizon. So 6-game lead over Washington in the NL East. So I wish MF didn't have to leave, but I know he would be very happy upon hearing this. So number 1 in our final Major League Baseball power rankings for this season, good old MF Michael Fletcher's team, the Atlanta Braves. And that will put an end to this latest season of Strictly Sports. We want to thank you all so very much for tuning in all season long. You know, whether it was Hot Stove or Hard Times Stories or our special shows like the NFL schedule release or the NCAA tournament, our NFL draft recap, our NBA draft recap, other things. We want to thank you all so very much for tuning in every step of the way. So, Michael Bullock, if you're still with us, come on in. Let's get to your shout-outs, and then I'll set up some very exciting future content for next week.
Yeah, and of course, we thank you all so very much for tuning in all throughout the year for Strictly Sports. Of course, we now look forward to basically doing our football show. So, of course, shout out to all of our tremendous fans and viewers out there who continue to support our shows, whether it's this or our wrestling forum shows. Of course, shout out to all of our friends from high school days. You guys know who you are. To all of our super fans out there, you guys know who you guys are. Of course, our personalities from 6, 10, and 12. And of course, from ESPN, Fox Sports, MLB Network, NFL Network, NHL Network, NBA TV, and all the other networks out there. To our friends from The Road Show. Of course, former co-hosts Mary Larson and Megan Mooney. And of course, to Will Gilbert, Brendan Kirby, and of course, Michaela, who was still on maternity leave. So, so that's going to do it for me. So until Monday night for an all-new edition of Ridiculously Raw, this is Mike Bullock saying thank you all so very much for tuning in. Of course, you know the routine. Thumbs up. Talk to you later. yeah, throw it up Fortune 4 style. Bye for now, my friends, and have a good weekend. Flory, what's yours?
Yes, indeed. Very special shout out to all of our tremendous fans and viewers out there who continue to make our shows as over as they are. We very much appreciate it as always. You are the best fans in the world. Shout outs to the First Lady of the Wrestling Forum, the Twisted Angel, Dee Dee Whitson, Kevin Whitson, and the Whitson family. Keep them in your prayers. They're going through some hard times right now. So keep them in your prayers. That's all I ask, as are we. And our insiders, Matt Ward, Jason Hicksonbaugh, and our other First Ladies, Kaiser Butler, Megan Silva, and Lexi Calloway, the crew members, Tommy Souza, Eric Carrier, Jimmy Alden, Albert Raderson, and Rob Parsons, and of course, good old MF Michael Fletcher, who had to leave early, obviously because of work commitments, and of course the man who puts it all together every week, DF from RI 401, Derek Ferreira, and of course all of our personalities from 6, 10, and 12, and of course our friends over at ESPN, FS1, MLB Network, NFL Network, NHL Network, NBA TV, Lindsey McCormick, State of Sorrell, our friends from the Road Show, Will Gilbert, Brandon Kirby, Michaela Johnson, the former co-host Megan Mooney, and Mary Larson, and last but certainly not least, my dear friends over at Oasis of Grace Ministries over on 464 Silver Spring Street in Providence. If you need a church home, check them out. Exit 25 off Route 95. 10:30 Sunday morning service. Wednesday night at 7 Bible study. Other things going on, and that's it for that. Two quick announcements. As far as we're doing something really fun this year. Bullock, I'm sure you heard about this, but I'll reiterate it if you haven't. Our dear friend Mike Keenan started a fantasy football league over on ESPN.com, and I think 5 or 6 spots have been filled. There's room for, I believe, 4 more. Looking for 10 altogether. So Bullock, if you're interested, I sent you the link, so check it out. And also on top of that, in addition to Mike Keenan's fantasy football league, I am bringing back once again the Pigskin Pick'em over on ESPN.com. I'm hoping for a big turnout this year. So hopefully Bullock will get in on it. Hopefully MF will get in on it, and everybody else out there, pretty much within the crew and the brotherhood. So I'm hoping for a really big turnout this year. So that's all I can say on that. Those are my 2 big announcements for the week. Now, as far as future content goes, you know what that is. Monday night, Ridiculously Raw, right back here. We'll run down Monday Night Raw and my reviews on 205 Live and Impact Wrestling. Wait till you hear what I have to say about 205 Live. They did a very unique match this past week. I cannot wait to tell you all about it. It was a very unique match. It was a really fun match, and I got a lot of positive things to say about that. Either Tuesday or Wednesday, depending on MF's work schedule, the Cerebral Smack Talk, we'll run down SmackDown Live. And if MF has a Mikey's Mindset, we'll get into that, I'm sure. And next week, I believe we will be previewing week 1 of the college football season. So I believe for next week, it will be College Football Friday. So I'll have to check with Derek Ferreira on that one. So I will reach out to him and get back to you as soon as I hear anything. So there you have it. So until Monday night for Ridiculously Raw, it's Anthony Florio here for Michael Bullock, and in spirit, good old MF Michael Fletcher, Dee Dee Woodson, Derek Ferreira. You know the routine, everybody. Thumbs up. Talk to you later. Yeah, throw it up Fortune 4 style. Bye for now, my friends. God bless. Be good to each other. Have a blessed weekend. And until Monday night for Ridiculously Raw, you're even watching the season finale of Strictly Sports right here on Tone 25 and YouTube.com. For everybody who's been a part of this one, once again, Anthony Florio here saying so long and bye, everybody. Bye.